welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire.
It's wonderful to be here with you today. Here at Lead Live, we're celebrating women. Women. Celebrating females. Girls who have the opportunity to transform into women. We're celebrating women. I was speaking with a colleague earlier, and I asked him what came to mind when I used the word woman. And the first word out of his mouth was intelligence. And then I asked, why? And he said, because we speak to women, the inputs they share with him are insightful. I said, that's curious. Well, men, he said, they're prone to joking, but typically are less serious about things. Maybe think about a gentleman who was on Lead Live last year, one of the remarkable people we've had here, and among those we're going to have in the future. And he said to me, not on air, prior to being on air, in fact, days, he said, I'm not certain that men have the capacity to ensure peace. He used other words, but that was one of the words. I don't think we have the capacity to create a world without war. He says we need women to lead. We need women's leadership to be ubiquitous. Now, let me be very clear. I have been fortunate to know a lot of men in my life, primarily as colleagues, and certainly as family members, and definitely as friends. And there are remarkable men among them. Smart, functioning with integrity, protectors, caring about doing the right thing, even when no one's looking, especially when no one's looking. Adding value because they can, choosing to be examples, models of manhood, of responsibility, of kindness, of love at the beginning and the end of the day. And yet, so it's striking that just those two individuals, among many, and I've heard comparable things among men, is that this predisposition to assume that men are not as serious about what really matters, and men don't have the capacity to ensure a world without war. Well, the good news is that men are not alone and don't have to figure it out alone. We women are here, and we have the capacity. In fact, we've been doing it throughout time, adding value in a way that reflects that we own who we are. We have a level of self-respect for who we are. We choose to live with a level of audacity to be authentic. And we understand the importance of abundance mindset. And as I said that, I'm looking at this beautiful plant that's here. I thought it would grow maybe that large, and it's gotten larger, and now it's taking up a whole space. It's abundant. And for some reason, it chooses to prosper in this location rather than another location I had it in. Still same comparable light. And yet what's so interesting is that something about this space and what happens in this space encourages just to flourish. See this? This was a third of what it was when it was given to me by a loving couple, Aubrey, Claire Phillips. and it's just flourishing. When the same way we women, when we own who we are, when we love ourselves unconditionally, we understand our worth, not to the degree that we will in the future, in the next moment. In the moment we in, we understand we're worthy. We respect ourselves. And so we're predisposed to respect the other. We're kind to ourselves. We're considerate. And as a result, we're predisposed to be kind and considerate to the other. I start off talking about we women, and it immediately went to men. We need our men to show up and show out in the most honorable, respectful, loving, kind, generous, compassionate, strong, thoughtful ways. And as we inspire them to do it, we inspire them most because we're doing that for ourselves. We inspire that among our children because we're doing that for ourselves. People look at what we do, how we do what we do, what we present in our presence, and less so what we say. Although we value words, yet words without congruency in terms of our actions and the vibrations that we emit mean nothing. They're empty. And the power of us as women are so well, beautifully manifested in the compassion that we share with one another, starting with the self and sharing with other women. Oh my God. I know so many remarkable women making a difference. And I'm just honored to be in partnership with them, in friendship with them, in love with them. I mean, the kinds of interactions we have, the laughter, the being silent and looking at the other and seeing the essence of the wonder of self in them. Oh my God, what a gift to be in collaboration, partnership with other women. What did Malik write? He writes, phenomenal insight. True, empowering, and honorable women provide natural peace because they are the mediators. Women do not have ego as men do, and the coexistence of male and female equals unity. You just hit the nail on the head and knocked it out the park. And yet, men could have more when they do what women are to do, honoring self, going to a level that's deep. And Malik, also, you write, true powers empowers. Yes, a true leader develop leaders. Peace and blessings keep the channel going. You got it. You got it. So this woman, women, wow, committed to ongoing growth. And that happens through learning, whether it's through observation, reading texts, analyzing research data, observation, going within, processing, being reflective, inquiring in a way that's open to possibilities. Wow. Compassion, warmth, the giving, the commitment to ongoing growth through learning ensures that we are alive. What is life if not ongoing growth? Doesn't mean that every time we turn around, we're collecting degrees. Well, some of us love to do that. Go for it. Doesn't mean that we're reading 15,000 books. Some of us love to do that. Go for it. Doesn't mean that we're trying to observe all billions of people on the planet. Some people love observing. Do what works. It can be a combination of those in so many other ways. The key thing is engaging in life, taking action. Wow. And what happens? Not only are we developing our cognitive faculties, our thinking skills as a result of our engagement, ideally, we're getting closer in contact with who we are emotionally, spiritually. And we're being open to the possibilities of coaches, of mentors, of counselors, whoever we need to help us get to a place where we're the healthiest part of ourselves in all key areas. And I say key because some areas we're weak in and they're not important. And yet there are many areas that we're not as strong as we'd like to be in that are very important. So we need folks who understand, who themselves have been successful in the areas that we want to be successful, not just anyone. Those who understand because they did it in their way, not in the way that we may need to do it, yet they're able to provide guidance. So growth happens through so many ways. We can immerse ourselves in X, Y, Z. I mean, where are we? We're in the arts. We're in entertainment. We're in engineering. We're in construction. We're in law. We're in politics. We're in education. We're all over the place. We're in farming. We're in major design. Oh my goodness. We're in basic infrastructure. We're in retail. We get to live, learn, contribute, grow as a result. And what did Kenneth write? Hello, he says. I was once suffering from cancer for years now, and I was told by my doctor that there's no possible cure. And I knew I had limited time on planet Earth due to the way the doctor talked to me. I saw a comment of Dr. Kenneth. Also, I saw a lot of testimonials about him on how he uses herbal medicine to cure cancer. I contacted him and told him my problems. He sent me to the herbal medicine, and I took it for 3 days, which has 2 weeks and 1 week. After then, I went for a checkup, and you haven't finished your statement. I already know where you're going. At least I believe so. And yet I want you more because I lived what you're talking about. So many people I know have lived what you're talking about. There are no definitive answers except for those that are known by the universe, the Great Spirit. We call the Great Spirit great mystery, depending upon the circle we're in, or God, or Tao, or energy, unconditional love. We don't know what we don't know. So I don't care how expert we are, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in law, whether it's in engineering, whether it's in whatever it is, we should remain humble. And that's what a brilliant woman who's about the business of growing and all the male partners remain humble to learning. Because just because what we know in this area, whether it's Western medicine, whether it's a part of Western medicine that is brilliant and helps us address certain conditions, does not mean that we know all of the options within Western medicine, even all the options within Eastern medicine or medicines that have not given much light of day, and yet we may be fortunate enough to gain access to. Be open, learn, grow. Thank you for part of that statement, Kenneth Michael. And if you put it all out, I'm sorry it didn't capture here. I think there's a limited number of characters that are permitted in the comment section. But keep it coming, folks. So what does she do? She also takes care of herself. A woman who's about the business of health and well-being takes care of herself. What does that mean? Well, many people think what? The way she looks on the outside? Well, the way she looks on the outside is a direct reflection of what she's doing on the inside. We know that, sisters, right? What we're eating, when we eat, how much we eat, the quality of what we eat. Is it free of chemicals, free of hormones, free of all kinds of things that actually damage animals, the animals we eat, or free of those things that damage the plants that may look great, but ultimately, when we consume them, we get the toxins too. Yeah, I know. People said, you put chemicals on it, gets rid of the bugs, and it's gone. Look at the research. And not only the food she consumes, the thoughts she consumes, her own thoughts, our own thoughts. What are we thinking? What are we allowing to enter our mind when we're asleep and the television's going on? The radio's on. What are we allowing to enter us? If it's what we want and we've already programmed it appropriately, great. But if we don't know what's entering, be cautious. Be very, very cautious. So, one who takes care of herself, what is she doing? She's consuming what she knows edify her organs, allows her to have more energy, allows her to be clear of thought, to be sufficiently grounded, and does the same thing with messaging that comes into her system. That already is there, that she reuses, that she allows in. She's aware of who she's interacting with those. Not only does she love, and hopefully she loves them all, and some of them she doesn't know to love, she just likes, or some of them she doesn't like at all, and yet she's valuing them because of their worth. Their work in the workplace, their work in the community, their work wherever it happens to be, she's valuing, respecting, engaging in ways that are appreciative, even though she may not like the person. She's valuing in order to pay it forward and have it literally be reinforced in what she consumes. So it's her own messaging to herself that's shared with others. How is she functioning in the environment? That's part of taking care of herself. What do we do as women? When we embrace our vulnerability, what did we say that is? That is saying, I'm going to do it even though I'm fearful. I know it's the right thing to do. I'm going to do it even if it's a little risky. It's strategic risk. I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to share that I have a voice in a respectful, authentic way. I'm going to make certain that people understand what I have to contribute. I'm going to make space for myself to be the addition, to add value that I know I'm all about. And yet I've been so fearful doing historically because, and then you fill in the blank. There's all kinds of reasons why. I was an introvert. Most people wouldn't believe it. And I would just engage in order to get to the ends that I wanted to get to. So if I had to talk to somebody, I did. Oh my God, it was horrifically scary. I remember the first presentation I had to make that wasn't part of a drama class where I had to, hide in another character, where I had to present. I'll never forget standing up there representing a group much older than me, and their grade was dependent upon me. I've shared this story before here at Lead Live. And I got what we call locked jaws. My mouth wouldn't open. I looked at the class, most of them much older than me. I'm an underclassmen, they're an upperclassmen. I think I might have been my sophomore year, most of them in their senior year, a few in their junior year, and many of them over the age of 35. And here I am, 19 years old? No. Maybe turning 19, because I started at 17. And I'm just looking and I'm quiet and I'm frozen. And I got a sucker punch in terms of language from the professor that made me open up. And then I gave the presentation and it was exceptional. All kinds of claps and aced it. And I have no idea what I did. I took the step. I did what so many of us do. And I am so proud of so many of you women. You didn't have that kind of issue. You just, sound like you came out of the womb talking, taking all kinds of opportunities to share your voice. Whether you're that more extreme than I was, or you're the individual who was ready to voice her understandings, her opinions, and her learnings right away. I'm so proud of you. Very proud of you. And just recognize that as we do it, it's going to hurt a little bit, maybe, especially if you fail forward. And I want to emphasize failing forward. And I celebrate all of us who choose to step out. And as we experience what we experience, not knowing fully the implications, and we end up failing, as long as we're failing forward and we know how to get up. Powerful. And so many of us have done that over and over and over again. And then we're successful, and the world says, oh my God, she must have been silver spoon. Oh my God, she's just remarkable. She looks great. She does everything great. And you know all the years. It's like the iceberg. They see what's above water. They don't see that huge foundation that you built and on which others built, and then you were able to build yours on top of that. They don't see that. They just see this glorious you. Well, I see you. And increasingly more of us, definitely women, see you. And I think our male partners see us. And I want you to know I see you. And more importantly, I want you to honor and see yourself. You've achieved. You're always achieving. And oh my goodness, we have models of that. I mean, the woman who is being considered for the Supreme Court at this very moment, Black woman, beautiful woman, husband, children, parents. She's fortunate to still have her parents to be able to observe it. And on the foundation they built, she was able to build. The foundation her grandparents, her forefathers and mothers built. Oh my goodness, she's brilliant. And she has taken risk after risk after risk after risk. Well, we know that. Women, we know that. And I honor you for being ready to grow, to learn, and to fail forward in order to contribute more, not only to yourself, but to society, to your family, to communities, heck, humanity overall. You're demonstrating that you know your worth. And I want you to know, wow, your worth far exceeds any monetary value. Can't put a price on any woman, literally. And yet we try to, whether in terms of employment, whether it's legal employment or so-called illegal employment. There's been a historical trying to put a price on women's body, whether it's in slavery, whether it's in terms of other devastating natures of what we've experienced throughout the recorded human history, at least. We know our value far exceeds any monetary amount. We know our value is actually far beyond even our bodies. It's far beyond our emotions, which we should always hone. It's far beyond our intellect, which is so essential to be in alignment with our emotions. So we get our subconscious mind operating at a high level of vibration to knock out the park what we want in terms of our ultimate vision and achieving that ultimate vision. World peace, resolution, like that. Wow, women. So many of us are so beautifully grounded. We understand that we were born, we have innate talents and gifts. Even before the talents and gifts, we know that we just deserve to be happy, to be loved, to be appreciated, to be honored as we are, without any kinds of jobs on our body. And I mean that plastic surgery, adding clothes, just the bare essence of who we are is worthy. And we don't have to do anything to be worthy. And we, at our most mature, we have no false sense of entitlement. Yes, we're worthy, just like every human being is worthy. And yet we have no need to have a false sense of entitlement. We are entitled to love and be loved. We are entitled to give and to receive. And I want to honor you, women, who know how to receive. Many of us know how to give. And when it comes to receiving, we say, oh, don't worry about it. No, give it to somebody else. The universe is saying, here, say yes. Say yes. In order to give, You must receive. In order to receive, you must give. Just the nature of life. I encourage us as women, allow ourselves to receive more. And oh my goodness, stress reduces. Really. Go there regularly. Imagine, and even if you can't fully imagine, allow yourself to receive even when it's uncomfortable, and the level of well being just accelerates. Oh, wow. Talking from someone from experience. I had difficulty, like a lot of women, not so much men, but some men too, but a lot of women especially had difficulty receiving. And something about the socialization across this planet has said you're not worthy, you don't need it, men need it, children need it, you don't need it, you're last, if at all. Well, I'm here to remind you, because many of you already know it, just to remind you, those of you who don't know, you are worthy, and it's not because you have a child, it's not because you have a mate, a husband, a wife, a partner. It's not because you have a job. It's not because you're tall, you're smart. It is because you are actually alive, you're worthy. And we get to reshape our local conditions, our regional conditions, our national conditions, our international conditions, our world conditions in an instance when we decide that we're worthy. Yeah, there are consequences. But let me tell you, considering the alternative, the consequences are worth it because it sends the right signals to our children, our girls, without a doubt, and also our boys. All of them need to experience the value that all women have. And literally, the woman doesn't have to do anything to earn it. And yet, the nature of a woman who understands her worth, she's constantly doing things. She's in her head, reflecting, being in gratitude. She's serving this temple while she's physically here to ensure her health and well being so that she can carry out the gifts of service however she chooses to. Building a business, $1 billion business, building or employing hundreds of thousands of people, impacting millions of lives, however you choose to have it manifested. Our children benefit from what we're doing now, not tomorrow, not yesterday, what we're doing now. They can learn from what we did yesterday. They can be inspired what we're talking about doing tomorrow. And yet what they really understand is what we're doing now, because that's what we're modeling. Self-worth. That's what we're talking about. What is self-worth? It suggests a level of self-awareness, doesn't it? And having empathetic and value of self, and doing that and displaying that and transferring that to others. Recently, we talked about emotional intelligence. And I am so appreciative of so many of you women and young girls and teenagers growing into young women, and especially elders who've chosen to take the time to reflect and appreciate how you've leveraged your feelings, your way of being to, without judgment, inform, impress, inspire, um, honor, protect, support, and help undergird the overall success of others, other girls, other boys, definitely other women, and of course, our male partners. So I want you, all of us as women, honor the fact that you're brilliant. Our wiring to be emotional, and people say, oh, she's just emotional, she's just hysterical, etc. Well, I want us to listen to that and say there's a kernel of truth there, not about the historical nonsense. That's a way to dismiss and discount many of us. And when they use it for men, they're really trying to discount. But let me tell you, at the essence of who we are our emotions. It's part of our heart mind connection. We have an emotional mind that drives over 95 to 99% of our behavior every single day. And most people think it's our cognitive decision making mind that drives our behavior. If it didn't, then we wouldn't have wars. Think about it. There's an emotional reason why we have wars, primarily. Yeah, people say, "Oh, well, if you look at the history of wars, there's a collective of people, primarily men, who really promoted and they put in place these different infrastructures to accelerate it." Well, even if that's so true, and I do believe that is the truth, a major part of the truth. What's at the core of it? Well, it's about control and money and power. Okay, what's at the core of that? Well, their egos are really big. As who spoke to that earlier? That was Malik. Okay, and what's at the core of that? When you get to the core, when you come up with all the so-called reasons, you get back to emotions. You're emotionally intelligent. We're saying you understand how to interact with, I say, self, which most people don't talk about, and the other in a way that respects them, demonstrates respect. They receive that as respect and without judgment. But more, it's at a higher level. You're facilitating within them their own greatness. Whether you, and I think about the one example, the gentleman that's on driving a bus. It's referenced in writing. I think about the many women I've witnessed drive a bus. You get up to the door, it opens, and you're greeted. I've been greeted the few times I've taken buses. I need to take buses more just because I can. Greeted with this huge smile. Never seen this person before, and yet overwhelmed by that smile. And so it doesn't matter what one's going through that day. And certainly for me, embraced by a smile may never say a word, or no words may never be exchanged. And yet whatever I'm feeling, that smile automatically gave me a massage that reduced the level of stress in my shoulders. My stomach feels lighter. I have a little bounce as I get onto one step after the other. When I sit down, I'm relieved. That's emotional intelligence. And so much of what we do as women, we're wired to welcome people with that smile. I started off with the male because I'm thinking about a Black male who does that all the time. And he's referenced it. Well, he used to, he's no longer here with us. It's referenced in writing. So whoever you are, especially women, because I'm celebrating, honoring you always. And right now, this is about you. Your power to influence the other is nothing short of genius. Recognize that's part of our genius when we so choose, because we can choose to turn it off too. Yes, we can. And some of us do strategically. Yet it's the power of keeping it on that the gifts just flow. What else is just awesome about us? I mentioned maturity, right? You understand your values. And with that maturity, you are ensuring that you live in alignment with those values. Well, first of all, we have values that many of us don't even know where we got them from. And I would suggest to you, if you've never paid attention to your values, you never even written them down, you never ask yourself, what is a value? And what are my values? Then you're probably living the values of the adults that reared you or the adults you were around, whether they were your parents, grandparents, or some other individual. Even if you were homeless, you're living the values of the conditions that you were reared in. And the power of assessing those values is you get to choose. And that's the power of being human. We get to decide and we get to choose. So we're choosing and then we're making a decision to act on that choice. You could put one or the other. Not that big of a deal which one you put first. Understanding your values and choosing them is powerful. And then living consistent with those, wow, that's maturity. Because you live consistent with those, even if everyone says doesn't work, then you go to an environment where it does work. Or you help to influence the environment to ensure it's healthier because the values that you have work better. You're living with integrity. That's maturity. People say, oh, maturity is age. Well, haven't you met some people and you wonder if they've ever grown? Age is not synonymous with maturity. Yes, it's highly correlated, but it's not causal. What is the next thing about her? About you? About us? When we have that level of maturity, not only are we speaking our mind, this level of comfort with self doesn't mean we don't have fear. We don't function as though fear drives us. We're driven by whatever faith we have. We're driven by the vision that we built for ourselves. That's part of the vision that includes all those with whom we work. It's big enough. It may be big enough for humanity. That vision drives us. What is your vision? And I want to thank so many of you women across this globe. When I read about you, when I observe you from up close or from afar, I'm impressed. And my being impressed is not easy. Whether you grew up on a farm and you chose to lead in a space that is antithetical to even the customs and traditions you grew up around in order to influence in a way that has actually influenced. Several of you come to mind. Different ages, different ethnicities, different sizes, different shapes, all beautiful. Wow. I love your passion. I love your passion for doing what you do in the different spaces you choose to occupy. And that's what we're doing. We're occupying space, and we get to occupy space. We deserve to be where we want to be. Be clear, though, whatever we decide we want, there are consequences. Ideally, they add value to you. Yet, even when we choose to be the healthiest us, there are consequences. We may be deciding, I'm only going to eat things that are clean, that are pure, to the degree possible, from local farmers. If they come remotely, I will do some investigation. Well, that requires work. It's not like going to the local store that actually may not have the vegetables that you know you need to edify your body, let alone your spirit. May not have the fruits that you've come to love that you use as a balance with the vegetables. May not have the fresh. You go on. Instead of consuming one thing, you need to consume something else. You may be like me, allergic to dairy, so you choose to consume what? Maybe it's coconut milk. Maybe it's flaxseed milk. You got to go the extra mile to get that. That's what I mean. It comes with consequences. Be sure about what you want. And let me tell you, I have no doubt you can achieve it because so many of us as women have done it. We do it over and over and over again. Vice President Kamala Harris is not vice president because she chose one day, well, I've got a dream, I've got a passion. I think I'll just kind of cool out and hopefully somebody will just marry me and that'll do. Well, for some women that work. That's not what she chose. I think about Oprah Winfrey, and she could have stopped long before she became a journalist or an on-air personality. She could have said, oh, good old boy said I don't fit. I'm too dark, or my nose looked this way. Whatever. The messaging has been and continues to be for many of us. She didn't choose to stop. She chose to leverage. She chose to live. Not in the way maybe you or someone else, but she chose. You get to choose in the way that you, not maybe someone else, it works for you. I think about Mary. Mary's a dear loved one. She runs the American Indian Child Resource Center in Oakland, California. No fanfare has she ever saw. Mary Trimble Norris. And she lives the spirit of our natives. And in her care for young people, in her care for adults. And yet, there are a lot of reasons why she could have stopped over 20 years ago. Legitimately, everyone would have said, makes sense. She chose and chooses to continue to go forward. Wow. I think about a young lady who's not with us, Drusha. She's Eurasian, or was. Her parents, one from the Philippines and one from Western Hemisphere, part of Europe. I don't recall the actual European nation, white. And she had to deal with a lot of nonsense because she wasn't Asian and she wasn't white. She was a beautiful combination of both. And it really challenged her longer than she should. She's brilliant, like so many young people. So many Asians, Blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, whites, immigrants, Pacific Islanders. I can go on and on and on. Brilliant. Latinas. Brilliant. And for whatever reason, she allowed the negative messaging to harm her. And I want to remind you, there's a lot of negative messages. It has nothing to do with you. Oftentimes, it's about the person who's projecting it, or the organization, or the entity, or the system that is doing that. Nothing to do with about your capacity, your inherent brilliance. So leverage the rest of us women who understand that we can be who we choose. And in the choice, we get to create. Because that's what we're doing all day long, even when we don't realize it. Not just as an artist or as a dancer who created a new something, move, or a musician, a new composition, an architect, a new design. I can go on and on. We're constantly in the act of creating. The moment we say, I am, I decide, I choose, we are beginning to create. So take your passion, take your inner opportunities, and move through life with your own brilliance. You have class. You have beauty. My goodness, I've seen you all so brilliantly. You've got regalia, you've got clothing, you've got makeup, you've got hair artistry, you've got jewelry, all these things you're making. You've got shoes. At the core, you've got this brilliant heart, brilliant mind, brilliance personified. You're in boardrooms more, as we should be. You're leading larger entrepreneurial endeavors, as we should be. You're leading corporations, as we should be. You are leading in municipalities, at governmental levels, as we should be. You're leading in communities, as we should be. You're leading, we're leading in so many spaces, and at the core, in our households, with our families, with our friends, as we can. And when we do it, I watch so many of you do it brilliantly, with class, with charm. Oh my God, your beauty is extraordinary. Your beauty just as you are. I love you. I respect you. And I have unconditional care and consideration for you. Do you know we're almost 4 billion on the planet? Well, as of last year, according to recorded records, 3.9 plus billion females on the planet. Approximately 50% of the population of the planet. 50%. You hear that? 50%. And there's enough room for all of us and even more. We're not occupying the oceans, which is a lot of territory. We're not occupying much of the space. There's a lot of room for more of us. There's plenty of room for those of us who are here. Encourage us to leverage the spaces that we have, beginning with the space inside. Do more edifying in a way that is humble, that keeps us humble and yet keeps us moving forward, adding value. And that, yeah, we're no nonsensical. We don't deal with a lot of BS. We don't deal with a lot of nonsense. And when we do, we understand that we're harming ourselves. So I say to all of us, have fun, continue with our faith, and there are diverse faiths. One's not inherently better than the other. It's about what works for the self, that adds value, that's healthy, that's aspirational. It understands that the self is not all there is and that we need one another. And I humbly always have said, even as a child, with one of my brothers, we're all one. Actually, we said to each other, we're all one. There's a delusion that somehow I don't need you. There's an illusion that I'm somehow different and disconnected from everything else. The fact that universal law of vibration is real means that I'm affected by everything and I affect everything. And as we've gotten more advanced with science, we learn the power of each one of us influencing all that is and everything that is influencing us. That's the importance of being even more careful about what we think, what we consume, how we consume it, what we feel, why we feel it, where we're going. Who are we? We're mothers. And I got to witness last year, thanks to my goddaughter, Lynn Marie Embry-Nimmer, and her beautiful mate, Steve. I got to witness the birth of my great nephew. I have seen many of my niece and nephews right after birth, and I've just felt honored by Tamaki and Sam, Antonio and Arlene, and I can go on, allowed me to be in that room or those spaces. Never did I understand the real power of a woman. I understand we have power. I've never given birth. I witnessed that. Wow, you're awesome. You're birthing. You've birthed us. Wow. If I could say one thing to my birth mother, whether she's here in the spirit world or she's still physically here on the planet, in the human spirit world, thank you, because you didn't have to. Like so many other kids who were abused, you were just 13 years old. You chose to go through that pain and allow me to be here. And because of your magnificence, and I don't know you as a human, I know you spiritually. I love you deeply. And that love is for all of you who choose to birth us, who choose to guide us, coach us, provide the very foundation on which we're able to build our own foundation and continue to pay it forward, to leave a legacy even when you don't even know what the word legacy means. You're not even thinking like that. Your wives, your partners, you're choosing to strengthen, to reinforce, to enable in a way that actually empowers. Wow. I'm so honored. And I've known some of you who've been in partnership for over 50 years. Oh my gosh. I mentioned one couple earlier. And I can mention a number of couples. Wow. You've gone through the hurt, the challenges, the growth, the learning, the relearning, the recommitment, and you're like, it was a partnership. We were not perfect, and yet we brought our 100% selves to the relationship, not looking for perfection, looking for honoring, looking for respect, looking for growth, understanding that we might grow further together or further apart. We could stay together and find a way back. Some of us can't. And so we go and then realize it was not about being together forever. It was about being together to learn and then allowing for new relationships to develop, whether it's in workplace, whether it's with another intimate partner, in order to grow further. Wow. As daughters, so many nieces and nephews inspire me. I'm thinking about my nieces. I'm thinking about my goddaughters. I'm thinking about so many other daughters who inspire, and they themselves are gifts, who are constantly learning. But in the learning, they share what they already knew, they came here with, just pure genius. I just remember different voices that have matured, have gotten deeper or higher, or they transform, but those little voices that were just so certain and ask the question, why? Not because they wanted us to give them our why. They wanted to understand the big why because they already had a clue and they wanted to see if we understood. Listen to our daughters. If you've not already experienced that, and hopefully many of us, and I know some of us have, you'll experience more of us. They're brilliant. As colleagues, women, you're beautiful. I can think of, and I have thought of, many folks with whom I've worked for, they work for me, I've worked with. Brilliant. And I was able to accomplish more because of them. I hope I honored you, all of you, even those who were detractors. I just want you all to know, as women, you have gifts and your capacity, wow, to heal, not only self, facilitate the healing of all of us is absolutely momentous. It's beyond description. At the core of what we do, we lead. And the only way we lead effectively is by developing leaders. So I want to thank you, so many of you who are authors, who are designers, who are philanthropic leaders. And you don't even call yourself leaders, you just give because you can. Your coaches, your authorities in the area are experts in energy and law and science and healthcare, construction, engineering, retail, manufacturing, utilities, technology, automotive industry, farming, real estate, communications, finance. Brilliant. I just so honored to be a woman, to be able to say that I join you and that I work consciously, daily, to honor myself in order to honor all of us. Love and life are among the perennial constants. Stillness allows us to experience love. And through movement, we allow love's eternal energy to produce life. Love and life are among the perennial constants. Stillness allows us to experience love. And through movement, We allow love to create life. I came up with a poem. It's much longer than that, and I just truncated it. Love, life, and leverage. I want to remind us all, and there's many of us women around the planet who are modeling it. So I hope that I'm doing us all justice in my own humble way. Be authentic. Experience the voice within. Share it. Think because you can. Act because you can. Create. Continuously heal mind, body, to experience the awesome spirit that we are, the essence we are. Honor life because we can. Clean up messes because that's what we know to do. And not in a way where that's all we're doing. Envision the greatness because we always inspire beauty and manifest the kinds of transformation that leads to us experiencing more of our humanity. And I am honoring my Angelou today, Dr. Maya, who reminded us of love throughout her life, whether as that child who was abused too, who figured out that she had to shut off her voice for many years in order for no one else to be harmed because of what she said, to protect herself, and then to open up her voice and realize she deserved to say, to speak. What does she say? Love is that condition in the healing spirit so profound that it allows us to forgive. Love is stronger than anything else that exists, folks. When you experience love at deeper, increasingly deeper level, you understand that. And so many of you women know what I'm talking about. Love is a liberating force. Love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination full of hope. Oh, God, I love women. I just love being a woman. I feel so grateful that I am in this body. I don't know what I was in previous lives. I may have been everything. In this life, I get to be a woman. I get to see the world through the lens of a woman. Yeah, I'm much more than a woman. I'm much more than beautifully Black. I'm much more than beautifully Latina. I'm much more than beautifully Native American, much more than I even know. I'm much more than 5'5", than whatever my size is. I'm much more than the clothes I have on. I got to tell you, though, it is so wonderful being a woman, especially a woman who is comfortable in her skin. I don't know fully all that I'm going to learn about myself. Even if I only live another day, I'm still learning. I know, though, through me, I get to create again and again and again. And I get to be part of creation all the time. So, with a loving heart, I say to all women, honor you, as many of you are doing. Do it in big ways so our girls, our boys, all of our partners get to experience it and actually be relieved. They don't have to be so harmful. They don't have to be so anything that negates their positive, healthy essence. And let me tell you something, folks. Being loving is arguably the most challenging space to be in when you're dealing with crapola. I know, technical term. And yet, it is the most remarkable space to be in when you're dealing with the most difficult nonsense. And when you're able to stand up and love, it's unconditional, really unconditional, and you know who you are at your essence. So I say to you, all women, I love you. And let love be your vista point. In great spirit, grandmother, all the grandmothers, why don't?